All right.
Go ahead and hit that.
Start the timer?
Yeah.
All right.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're rolling. Episode number 26 in this motherfucker.
All right.
26 already?
26, man. Yeah, let me double check.
Yikes.
Yeah, 26.
Yeah. That means we like talking to each other, apparently.
Talking, drinking. What is this microphone? What are you doing?
I don't know. It was already like that. I didn't
adjust the motherfucker.
Yeah, fix it.
What do you want me to do?
Too much of
Hey, there you
Tony's
go,
a
man.
diva.
I don't want
I know, really, right?
I don't know how to do it, but I run lighting rigs for
Hey, I'm a
living.
guitar player, all right? I'm not,
No, what he wanted me to do it for him.
You can count to 4 at
I
best.
don't know. Do it for me.
I love it sometimes when the naturalness of when people are divas, when they just live their life like that. Here, can I say something at the show? Okay, so we me and the Rugers played at the Viper Room.
Yeah.
Okay. Great show. A lot of fun.
Yeah.
You know what? Yeah. Very touching, by the way.
Yeah.
Very touching for me because you can't see out on the crowd from the stage, but during the last song when we were all doing a cheers and the beer and stuff, it was everyone had their glass up. It was beautiful. It was a beautiful thing.
Nice.
But
Nice.
yeah, and we did a little cheers to Kev. It was a beautiful thing. But anyways, my point is, so our photographer, which is also my friend, my guitar player's girlfriend, one of the best photographers in Los Angeles. But she went to go, right after I got off stage, I got my bass in my hand, right? And she wanted to go grab the camera to show me. She was like, "Here, hold my beer." Right? So she just takes off, and I'm like, I got my bass in my hand and her beer, and I go, and I lean over to, who was I talking to? I think I was talking to Tamara, and I go, did my photographer just say hold my beer?
Walk away.
I was like, damn, this girl knows how to roll, man. And she just walks away like, it's safe. I downed that motherfucker. I was like, get out of here with that. She's like, where's my beer? I fucking downed it.
Yeah. She should know better than that to.
Pictures look like.
Yeah.
She should know better than that than to hand a beer to any one of us who have known her for long enough and are also broke-ass fucking musicians.
I just thought that was funny.
That was
Hey, Tom,
funny.
check that mic, buddy.
Wonder what those pictures.
Boom. It disappeared again.
Yep. Yeah,
Why
it
the
did.
fuck did that disappear? Go ahead. Why don't you do me a favor? Introduce Tom. I'm going to get his mic working.
So, ladies and gentlemen, tonight on episode 26, we have my very good longtime friend, Mr. Tom Iland, here with us. He is an author, a public speaker, and an autism consultant. This man, if you have anything, well, I'll let him explain himself a little more to you guys. So, go for it, Tom.
Well, thank you, Jenna. It's
That one's not working either.
Yeah.
Nope.
Here, you can use mine.
Yeah, I'll crank you. I'll crank you. It's working.
Check.
Oh, no, that's working. There you go.
Is it working?
I got you cranked, buddy.
Yeah, you gotta just.
Go ahead. You can use
all
that
right.
other
Here we
mic.
go.
Yeah, sure. Okay, fine.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, totally, man.
Well, I'm here because April is Autism Awareness and Acceptance Month. I got diagnosed. Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yep.
Now you know.
Yeah.
I got diagnosed with autism when I was 13, and I basically wanted to be George Lucas's accountant because I love Star Wars and I'm good with numbers, and went to do that.
Somebody's a nerd. Nerd alert. We have a lot to talk about.
That's all right. You're in company.
I'm cool. So I went to college, got my bachelor's degree in accounting, became a certified public accountant, worked for Disney right out of college, and Disney actually acquired Lucasfilm after I left the company. So the way I see it, retroactively and indirectly, I was George Lucas's accountant.
Nice.
So I had a couple of jobs after that. I worked at Deloitte, a Big Four accounting firm, had a couple of temp jobs, finally got a permanent job with benefits. But by that time, I realized just how miserable I was, sitting at a desk all day, crunching numbers. And I also heard more and more stories of my peers having difficulty knowing themselves, loving themselves, and being themselves. So 5 years ago, I said goodbye to accounting, put in my 2 weeks at my accounting job, and I now go around the country giving speeches, telling my story, and helping people on a personal level.
Awesome.
See, that
cool.
doesn't make all you guys feel like pieces of shit. You know what I mean? Like, what do we do, man? We don't fucking help
Yeah,
anybody.
it sounds like I'm not doing anything to help
I'm here
anybody.
getting drunk on a podcast. Like, what do
numbers.
I know how to
Well,
cook.
I'm getting drunk with you.
Yeah.
I've been helping people not not get drunk for a long time.
That's
Oh, there you go. That's a good thing.
That's true.
But also, as musicians, we help people too. You know, music can move mountains on a very emotional level. Not on this kind of level.
No, Hans, you're right. I get into that once a month actually with Jenna. I go like, what do I do? You know what I mean? Like, what am I helping fucking anybody? You know what I mean? And then Jenna talks me off the ledge with that. She's like, I'm like, I should go be a doctor or something. That'll never happen.
I wouldn't mind that
Too
either,
late,
though.
buddy.
Yeah.
Music doctor.
My brain.
Yeah, I like that music therapy.
No, I'll be like a therapist. I'll be like Dr. Down.
There are a lot of music therapists.
Dr.
In
Down.
fact, my bass player Jessica, she did that for quite a long time in Austin. Taught bass to people to help them rebuild their memory and their synapses or something. The way that they responded to beats per minute was the way they were able to start build their memory.
Well,
back up.
I do believe that you change somebody's mind for the better with your music. Boom.
Yeah.
One guy. That's all.
Music is therapy,
No,
man.
for sure, absolutely. But sometimes I think about like what you do, and I'm going, what do I spend my whole life trying to figure out audio? Fuck this thing.
But what amazes
You know
me
what I mean?
about
And I can't even get mics to work. So it's like, obviously I'm failing miserably.
But the hands-on approach
What
that you
amazes-
have is
what am-
incredible. Yeah.
what amazes me about Tom is I met him when he was in college. Before all of this happened, I saw him grow and blossom into going from being a shy kid, working his way through the corporate world into ditching it all and teaching other people how to navigate their autism, which isn't a disability. It is a learning curve and a personality. That's what I like to think about it. Your brain processes things in other ways. And I saw him blossom, and then to be able to help other people navigate their lives and understand themselves better is something. I was blown away by it. When we reconnected, I just thought, this guy's doing something. I love and care for him very much, and now I get to feel super proud of somebody who I've known for such a long time.
Now
and just see
you
him
guys
grow.
you guys have known each other for a while.
15
Yeah,
years.
15 years.
Jesus.
Yeah.
That's a long time, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, we go way back, and actually, I have a little bit of a music history myself. I went in performing arts when I was in junior high and high school, choir, drama, and went into
At Santa
choir
Clarita?
in Santa Clarita. Yeah, Saugus specifically. I was a soprano freshman year. By the time I was a senior, I was baritone, bass, and I actually have a really good story.
Oh, wow.
About
He can sign.
yeah, during my senior year, it was the same year as 9/11, and the choir and I were scheduled to go to sing at Carnegie Hall in New York.
Jeez.
Well, 9/11 happened, and we were debating whether or not to go through with the trip. And there was some back and forth. Some parents didn't want their kids going and thought it was too soon or that something else might happen. But at the end of the day, we all decided if we don't go, it means the terrorists have won.
Right.
I love that.
And so we decided to go, and we went to Carnegie Hall. We sang Mozart's Requiem on a mass choir. And we sang that. Our audience loved it, and I can now say that I sang at Carnegie Hall.
That's
Oh,
awesome.
nice. That's awesome.
That's a dream for me,
is.
man. That is awesome. And that's true. You found light in a national tragedy. And right now there's a bunch of tragedies going on around the world, and there's not many people who can think and see life the way that you do. And speaking about life, you wrote a book called Come to Life.
I did. Right around the time I left accounting, my mother and I put our heads together. My mother's an autism consultant, and she's known me my whole life. And we decided to put our heads together, and I'm sharing my secrets to success now with my peers, telling them that you can't sit back and wait for life to come to you. It's up to you to come to life.
Yep.
You have to go out there and make things
Right.
happen for yourself. You
I
have
love
to
that.
have that mental strength to bounce back from failure and rejection. You have to be responsible for your own happiness and do what you have to do to make yourself happy, and also give yourself to something that will make a difference.
Now,
Yeah.
Tom, I have a series of dumb questions for you.
Shoot.
The following.
There are no dumb questions
he's,
here.
he's prepping
I'm
you.
prepping. Well, autism. Now, forgive me, please. Autism in what, where in the body is the autism?
Okay. And this comes up often. People think
Because you're well spoken, you're an intelligent guy. I don't, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So what does that mean?
And I wasn't always this articulate or this outgoing. I was really shy growing up, and a lot of people think that autism is a mental illness or some kind of sickness, something that was caused by vaccines, and it's not like that.
I don't think people think that. Or
No, that is very much.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anti-vax.
Yeah, unfortunately, still some people still think that vaccines cause autism, and about maybe as early as 15 years ago, there were organizations saying like, cure autism now.
Stop getting your kids vaccinated.
The Earth is flat.
But the point is that autism,
What's the corruption on that? Yeah.
autism is a genetic disorder. It's on a neurological level, so it's in my DNA, and my family believes my father has it, and his father had it before him.
Now, you believe it, but was there any signs? Did it show?
Well, back then there wasn't any testing for it during.
Did it show?
It does show it,
Yeah.
even as early as 18 to 24 months in some children. If they aren't looking you in the eye, if they aren't responding to their name, if they're not doing
That's every child now.
You would think. But we're finding when it comes to imaginative play, like kids with autism tend to be attracted to objects. They want to line up their cars. They want to play the same game over and over again, versus other children get a little more creative, play make-believe, and want to be a little more.
They want their dolls to talk to each other.
What about when diagnosing an adult that has autism that doesn't form till later in life?
And it forms later in life. That's a thing. That's also a thing.
Well,
okay.
And it's basically it's been there from the time they were born, but they may not know that they have it, or pretty soon they see someone speaking. It's like, I can relate to that person, and they self-diagnose. Or my mother once got a diagnosis for a 60-year-old woman for the first time, and she'd grown up in halfway houses and was marrying men for their green cards, and she had a history of alcohol abuse. But basically, we're finding that it's social skills, certain behaviors, communication, and also what we call sensory sensitivities, like their reaction or lack thereof to their environment, both externally and internally. So anybody know SBC Global? Have heard of sbcglobal.net? If you can remember SBC Global, social, behavior, communication, and global for the environmental aspects, that's how you can identify autism or know how it affects the person.
I a lot of you guys don't know, and I think I probably mentioned it a couple times on the podcast, but I work, like, just to the people out there, I've worked with children with autism, and it's something it's just a different way of thinking. It's a different way of feeling. And there's different ways that it affects certain kids too. They talk about the spectrum, right? Yep. So there's high functioning, low functioning, and all that's in between.
Right, I hear on the spectrum a lot.
Yeah,
right.
And a lot of the kids that I worked with were on the higher end of the spectrum, because they're easier to integrate into actual society because they have social communication skills. They don't look you in the eye. Or I had one kid who he had very like physical touch was a large sensitivity for him, and he loved to love and hug you. But if you touched his hair, he would run screaming because the top of his head was so sensitive, it physically hurt him. And it would send him into the corner where he would cry, and then he wouldn't be able to talk to you and tell you why he was crying.
Here before, yeah. God, that's fucking terrible.
Well,
Jesus Christ. So what do you do about that?
But what that is that you don't touch him on the top of the head.
Oh, come on.
Because you know that's
his trigger.
That's
but
a
he's
trigger.
a kid, though.
But also,
hey there, Rusty.
Trust
you know
me,
what I mean? Like,
it took me years working with him,
hair.
and he's now able to tell you that, like, well, please don't touch me on the top of my head. It's a very sensitive part of my body, and I don't like it. And he's very high functioning now. He went from being in the special ed classes to being at the top of his class when I started working with him. Not in the special ed classes.
How old is he now?
Now he's 15 years old.
Okay.
15 years old. He's on the football team, high school football team.
There you
Somebody
go.
who has issues with their head being touched.
Wow.
He's all, well, I'll wear a helmet for this one.
Right.
Yeah, but and now football, you're slamming your heads into other people's head. Is that good for autism?
It's the physical touch on the hair that bothered me.
No, I'm saying in general.
And I wouldn't play football because I'd be bashing heads with someone, helmet or no helmet.
I mean,
I just wouldn't be doing that.
That's the worst for your brain. That's the worst sport for your brain.
They made a whole movie about that, Concussion,
with
Will Smith.
With Will Smith, right? That's a real, but that was a real case. That whole
story.
thing, yeah, it's a true story.
I've never seen
Because football, most of these guys, they're getting brain damage. All of them, because they're constantly slamming their skulls into each other.
Yeah, because they
You know.
they think that they have something protecting.
Because they
their
got
head.
big ass helmets. You got to put back the leather helmets,
But
man.
the reason why he
Serious.
went into
They
sports.
didn't get head injuries because they didn't slam their heads into each other.
That's true. The reason why he went into sports, though, is because he had been diagnosed at a young age. He was 4 years old, and there's certain things that come along with autism that don't develop in your toddler years, like walking. He was still partially crawling at 3, and you should be walking by 18 months, right?
Right.
Recognizing his name, not recognizing, but answering to his name. He didn't answer to it, though he knew his name. He just didn't answer to it because he avoided the social interaction
Now,
with
I
it.
think a lot of parents now are jumping the gun a little bit. All of a sudden, they see their kid being a little weird, and now they're like, "Oh God, he's got something."
Well,
right?
that's
And then they
just-
start throwing pills down his throat and shit. You know,
Well,
like, I think just because a kid can't pay attention, that means you're boring.
Autism,
You know, you're-
autism isn't something that can be cured like that, though.
No,
It
no,
can't
no.
be-
I know,
can't
but
be
what I'm
handled
saying
like
is,
that.
I think a lot of people
Pre-diagnosed in
are
a
getting
way.
quick to start saying
You're
that.
talking about in general.
In general,
yeah.
parents are doing that with their kids.
Well, yeah. I mean,
Throwing pills down their face,
that-
and
that-
and
I think
whole
that's
different
more.
business.
That's more in the sense, though, if they think that their child has like ADD,
Tom,
stuff like that.
would you agree with that? Like, there's ADD, ADHD, right? And that's just for people that can't pay attention.
And there's misdiagnoses that happen all the time, particularly in girls, because girls
Yeah.
get autism too. And as we have different criteria that we look for when it comes to diagnosing people, so a girl that may technically have autism could get diagnosed as ADD or ADHD or bipolar or something. Or like
Do you
that.
think we're just throwing that around these days?
Throwing around like, oh, that's autism?
Bipolar? Like, no, she's a bitch. You know what I mean? Bipolar?
I'm
Don't throw
bipolar.
Don't throw that shit out there. And you're the
I'm
sweetest
bipolar.
person of all time.
Well, I'm not a diagnostic.
So you got it handled then, huh?
Yeah.
You got it handled.
Yeah.
I mean, look, I snap too. I mean, does that mean I'm bipolar?
you probably are.
No, you're just a
Like you
dick.
suffer from depression every now.
See? Exactly. You're just an asshole, man. But
There's no pill for that.
I truly believe these days we're starting to get a little quick to start throwing pills down people's throats or
Labels.
or just start throwing labels rather
Yeah.
than being like, look, you got to handle that, man.
Well,
Yeah.
that's why diagnosis of autism takes actually having a specialist, observing your
Well,
child
autism
for a
is
while.
much different than
It
ADHD
really
and
is.
stuff.
It is.
But I figured you would know a lot about that also.
Given that I live with it every day and such. But
You live with ADHD.
I live with autism.
Autism.
I don't have ADHD.
No, you don't have that. Right. And
No,
that-
if anything, he can focus better than anybody I know.
and that can actually be a good gift. And you were mentioning like seeing autism as a gift and not so much a disability or something damaging. And
Yeah.
have you all heard of Greta Thunberg, the 17-year-old Swedish climate change activist?
Yes,
yeah.
yes,
Oh, yeah.
yes,
Well,
of course.
she identifies as having Asperger's. It's a form of autism. She calls it her superpower because it allows her to be laser focused on a topic that impacts us all. And she gets out there in front of crowds. She made Time Magazine's Person of the
Right,
Year
yeah, I remember
cover.
that. Yeah, I saw that.
And I've seen her, and I went and marched with her at a march in downtown LA in November. I had a copy of my book for her when the rally was over. And she says to me, well, the rally is over. I'd like to be alone now. And so I didn't get my book to her, but it's waiting for her if I ever meet her again.
I bet you could probably mail it to her.
Yeah, in
Asperger's,
Sweden.
Asperger's, not autism.
And
Right? Is
here's
that the same thing?
And here's a thing. We were mentioning diagnostic matters. There was a time where terms like Asperger's syndrome, pervasive developmental disorder, not otherwise specified, and other diagnostic terms were phased out of the diagnostic manuals and put under the autism spectrum.
Now you say there
disorder
was a time.
umbrella.
How long ago does that mean?
I'd say within the last 10 to 15 years.
Okay, so it's fairly recent.
So the diagnostic
Right.
criteria changed, and terms like Asperger's syndrome are no longer being used to diagnose people, but there
Yeah.
are still people that retain that identity or that label, if you will, and they identify as like, I'm an Aspie and proud or something. So if that's how they want to identify, great. But nowadays it's all being put under the autism spectrum disorder.
Now, Tom, what would you say if someone says that I have Asperger's, and I go, "No, you're just being a fucking weirdo." What would you say about that?
Well, I would be interested in your definition of a weirdo, first of all.
Well,
and-
I mean, technically, I'm a weirdo, I guess, but no, you're being an asshole. You're purposely being an asshole. Like you're being an asshole to your mom. You're being, you know what I mean?
Well, I train police officers about autism, and my mother has too.
But Asperger's not autism.
For the purpose of this conversation, we could use them interchangeably.
We can?
Yeah, because they're now Asperger's is now seen under the autism umbrella.
Okay, my question is, do you agree with that?
About people with autism or Asperger's or that a similar diagnosis being called weirdos.
No. I'm sorry. No, I'm just being a dick. No, what I'm saying is,
Just to make sure I'm answering the right question.
No, yeah, I know. I threw a bunch at you. No, what I'm trying to get at is, because now we're lumping Asperger's and bipolar and all this stuff in the autism, and I personally, I don't know shit about it, but it sounds like we shouldn't be doing that, right? Because autism is a different case than Asperger's. Yes,
it is. And Jenna, you'd mentioned high functioning. Those that are considered high functioning might be diagnosed with Asperger's, but there's a bit of a movement in the community, and I've blogged about this, to do away with labels like high functioning or low functioning, because any of you want to be called low functioning?
But you know,
I've been called low functioning since I was a kid.
I've been called worse than that.
I had one child that I took
Not
care
their
of.
function at all.
Shit, bro.
But I had
Let's go through a list. Scumbag, loser, never be anything. You know.
asshole, fuckface,
You wonder why people have self-esteem issues.
Yeah, I know.
jerk off.
I would just do that for fun.
But Tom,
So-
I agree with that 100%.
But see,
With-
he's coming to the
It's one or the other.
Yeah,
right?
but coming to the spectrum situation, I had a child that I took care of that was considered low functioning, which was a completely different. Like, if it's low functioning, he was very low functioning because he wasn't able to even speak, communicate. Touch at certain times of the day would set him off into a mental frenzy. You know, whereas they wouldn't consider him, because he wasn't retarded. Retarded is a derogative term or a demeaning term.
Has that always been?
No, it hasn't always been.
Because to retard would be to, like retard fire, right?
Fire
No, it's
retardant.
retardant. That's a different retardant
whole
and
different-
retard is
yeah.
two different words.
Yeah.
No, the other way to use
Like if I say Tony is a retardant,
That's
He prevents fires.
well, that might
Tony.
You
that
cannot
might
set
be
him on
true.
fire.
That's all right. He
Tom,
agrees.
Fire retardant.
Tom, I'm
No,
telling you.
and then retard could also be used like when you're in music, you're slowing it down, you're retarding.
there should be like
the music.
assholeitis, man. Like, you know what I mean? Like you're diagnosed with being an asshole.
Ian's an
Dude, that'd be
asshole dipped
everybody.
in freaking bipolar.
I warned you.
No, Tom, what I like to do is like play devil's advocate, like what they would say on the other side. And I because that all is interesting, because there's that side of folks where now autism, like if you ask me, I understand, like I get, okay, but I'm not understanding the Asperger one.
Why?
Well, I want to know why I don't see that as the same.
I would say, and
Like, I'm asking you why I feel that way.
Yeah, so the spectrum and the definition of it has evolved and changed over time, particularly as people with autism actually have a say in how it's defined. And mild autism and Asperger's are kind of one and the same.
Okay.
So, like my diagnosis, for example, was mild autism, so I could qualify for Asperger's or that diagnosis. And looking at the bigger picture and what people with autism go through on a daily basis, when you call someone high functioning or dismiss their needs and their struggles, that hurts them on a personal level. And when you call someone low functioning or someone who has severe autism, we tend to underestimate their capabilities and strengths.
I just got goosebumps
like
a little
that.
bit. I'm serious.
I know, I did too.
No, I'm very serious. You're right, man. Like, that really, when you start throwing little, like, oh, you're
labeling somebody
not ready
and not
for,
giving them the
you're not
chance
ready
to
for
grow.
what this person needs because
Yeah.
you're high functioning. And it's like, or you're low functioning, which means I'm not doing as well as this person. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah,
Right?
but what I'm saying, like, there are cases where the children, there's certain physicalities that come to, like, physical retardation, or physical deformities, that people with low functioning, like extreme low functioning cases or extreme severity cases, get deemed as like physically deformed because of it, and it's the way that they'll carry their bodies, because certain things hurt. It doesn't mean that they are physically deformed. They can do that, but the way that they carry their bodies in their neurological path, it hits their nerves and it hurts them. But their muscles don't have atrophy. Their muscles aren't deformed physically, and some of them they weren't able to speak or communicate. And it's not that they weren't able to comprehend; it's that they see conversation in a different form through sounds or through like body movements, stuff like that.
Like
you know?
in a slow motion type of thing.
Well, here, look. Let me relate.
Every case is completely different.
You ready for me to relate?
Sure.
So this is how I sometimes like when I start wanting to be an asshole, right? Because I went into a coma. I was in a hospital for a while, and when I came out, I couldn't speak. I could say it. I could say it, but I couldn't speak it.
Mm-hmm.
So no, you could think it, but you couldn't. Say
what did I say? Yeah, I could think it, but I couldn't say it. Right.
Explains a lot.
And yeah,
Exactly.
and what sucks, man, like before that, I remember I was really quick. Like I could bust balls quick. So I've missed a step a little bit, but
couple.
but anyways, I understand how frustrating that can be to you. It's in your head, and then when it comes out, that ain't it. That's not what I thought right there, you know. So that I can understand. I very much understand. That's got to, not only that can be frustrating. Like that can make you nuts, man.
So like basically like because
Yeah.
I have the kind of the same situation where I think faster than I can speak. So
no, you're just
No,
dumb.
think before you speak.
no, I'm saying
Your dad ever tell you think before you speak?
No, I think faster than I can speak. So like, kind of vocalizing my thoughts can sometimes be hard.
Right.
Because
Isn't
my
that
mind
kinda
is
like
going
Much
really
like when like a
fast.
nervous guy goes up and talks to you, Leah, you know what I mean? And then he thought he was going to be cool, but he says some stupid ass shit.
Isn't
Hi,
that
I'm
like-
Hans. Nice to meet you.
Isn't that like the other way around?
just like that.
You
But no.
say it before you think it.
Well, okay, please, Tom, amongst all that rubble, that rhetoric that we just
We're
gave
sorry
you,
for all the stupid questions.
amongst all that lyrical
I
rubble,
warned you.
I apologize for Tony.
all that literary rubble we just gave to you, that you have to dig through.
Well, let me start by saying that, yes, there are some people with autism that also have an intellectual disability, which is the politically correct term for mental retardation. And
Thank you. I didn't know that.
So, and that might cause them, or they may experience some of those bodily or physical difficulties, and that's why, even from my own experience, I did physical therapy, I did speech therapy, I've had years.
That speech therapy is a bitch, isn't it?
It sure can be.
Ooh, Nelly.
That was mine.
But,
Oh, sorry.
But yes, there are people with autism who
Thank you.
don't speak or have limited verbal ability, and
Yeah.
they have something in their head they want to get out, but they may not be able to. And one of the activities I do with police is I ask them to rephrase a sentence without a particular letter of the alphabet. So say, for instance, tell me another way to say "I love dogs" without using the letter O. So give me a
Oh,
sentence.
shit. Okay,
So,
hold on a sec.
So I love dogs, but give me that in words that don't have the
I
letter
love
O.
dags.
No, but love has O.
Love has an O.
I
so that would
love.
be-
Oh my god.
Lab.
No, I like.
I
appreciate
heart
canines.
puppies.
I appreciate
Boom.
canines.
That
I
works.
heart puppies.
I heart puppies.
So you had to reword it. You had to think. It
I like
took
dags.
Took you a couple
I
seconds.
like dags.
I
What
like,
about Tom Selleck?
I like Tom Selleck.
You
Oh,
missed
shit, there's
that
an O in
episode.
there.
And Tom has an O. But the
Oh,
point.
Tom does have an O.
Tom has an O.
See, you got your ass.
But the point is that there are people with autism out there that have so much to say, but may not be able to say it. And we think just because they're not speaking that they have nothing to say. That's not true.
So
Right.
So do you think
Most
like,
men live lives in quiet
my
desperation.
my
heard
my
that.
experiences, my two experiences with children that I helped raise were on completely different ends of the. I'm not going to say the spectrum anymore. Two different severities of the same.
Is that wrong to say, Spectrum?
No, it's up to you. It's
Okay, we're good there.
But
Proceed.
it's two different severities of the same mental blocks. You know. So he was at a point. The severest was at a point where he just physical, emotional, personal interaction would shut him down. I connected with him through drawing pictures. So basically like art therapy, almost like hieroglyphics. I would draw stuff and he would point to what he wanted.
Okay.
So like almost being trapped in a mind, and we'd have conversations, full conversations. I would draw something and I would know what he wanted. I would know what he wanted to listen to and certain
Now,
things that he wanted to listen to.
You
I'm like,
taught
wow,
this guy?
You knew this?
You taught this kid?
Yeah. Well, I was his nanny for 4 years.
You guys are some good people, man. I mean, look, this corner here. Look at the corner. Okay. Hold on a sec. Tom, let me show you.
Look at me.
Guys, let me show you. So we got, a nice person been helping people her whole life. Leah helps people stay sober. That's great.
Right.
You're helping people with autism and people with speech issues. It's great. Hans fucking builds guitars and shit. Like he's selling amps. I mean, who gives a fuck? This guy does lighting. Who cares, man?
And you're a sound engineer.
And I'm a sound engineer.
But what do people love? Going to concerts?
You know what I mean? We don't.
Without us three dipshits,
there'd be no Staples Center.
There'd be no
There you
music
go.
to
Thank you,
to
Leah.
produce to
Thank you, Leah.
to basically music is therapy for people that can't afford therapy.
I know.
Right.
But I'm just saying, we're on each corner, it's like the corner of dipshits.
Right.
Like you're not going against us in the math debate team. Math debate.
Math debate.
Math
Jesus
debate.
Christ. Yeah, that'll help.
Speech debate.
But so do you going
I
back
meant
to
to say math team or debate team, but it came out math debate.
See what it is? You think it, and then it comes out wrong.
But how'd it come out as math debate?
Because you got nervous once you looked
I
at me.
sound like Cindy Brady trying to say something naughty.
sounds like you're saying masturbate.
'Cause once you-
That's what I just said. Math debate.
Jesus.
Like if you say masturbate, but with your tongue held.
This is what I was saying. I'm glad you guys are just jumping in on what I was saying 5 minutes later.
Hey guys, I'm here.
He's
Ian.
Ladies and gentlemen, Ian has returned. But you know what? You know why I checked out for a second? I'm going to tell you right now.
Sure.
I was listening to the audio and trying to
Well,
I heard something weird.
That's
but
your
so I checked out and
superpower.
started.
Is there
I've been trying to play along.
is there a definition for him?
Tony, that was good.
I plead the fifth.
I mean, really, what is the definition for something like me?
Someone like
really.
you.
Look, I know I'm fucking wacky, man. I'm in my own brain.
Audially ADD. Or no, not ADD, OCD.
Well, it's true. I have a hard time paying attention.
That's ADD.
But when there's something that I'm really interested, man,
Then he's obsessive
like, don't talk to me. I'll
about
be
it.
obsessed.
That's ADD and OCD.
And then check it out. Check it out, Tom.
I wrote a song about
Inside of
it.
herpes.
And then I get bored quick with it. I get into it, and then I get bored quick. What does that mean? Does that mean
No,
anything?
that's just ADD.
Well,
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, people with autism have their special interests and things that they know a lot about, and they're hyper focused on it. They want to know all about that, and may even make a career out of it. But it could also be a little bit detrimental, and particularly when it comes to, as long as we're on autism awareness and acceptance, people with autism are among the most unemployed or underemployed individuals in the world.
Really?
Even though they're so skilled, they have so much to offer on their particular trade. It's the soft skills, like how to have a conversation, how to talk to a manager versus a customer, how not to be the stinky person on the work floor in the office.
Or how to get through the interview. I mean, the interview.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because an interview is essentially a social communication situation. Autism is a social communication disorder.
Interviews are brutal for anybody
Yeah.
that doesn't have autism.
That don't deal with that. Yeah.
I mean, it's brutal anyways.
So so in a nutshell, they have difficulty securing and retaining employment. And I've had my share of jobs where I got the job under my own merit without telling them about my diagnosis, but it ended up not working out. There was a time I told my boss about my diagnosis, and they end up keeping me.
I'd throw it right in there, bro. Immediately.
Yeah, and each person has their own preference. There were times I didn't tell, and I still got the job. There was a time I told during the interview I didn't get the job. So it's
Right.
on a case by case.
But now,
basis.
see, like, you're a very likable dude. Okay, so what I'm saying is, sometimes people get dealt a little rougher hand. Okay, you're likable, not a bad looking cat. So sometimes someone comes in just.
I think he may be hitting on you.
Yeah.
Is that how it works?
Well, you kind of have that look that Tom
I'm actually getting to something.
Got a mustache.
I'm actually trying to be
I lose
deep.
I lose the
you know.
beard, and suddenly I'm Tom
sorry,
Selleck.
baby.
Well, hey, Tom, do you own a Ferrari?
what I'm trying to say is some people get dealt a hand where they can't just fucking roll up in there like that. They're already jacked,
That's true.
And
in lack of better terms.
right. And I'm doing the best with the hand that I've been dealt with.
Yeah.
And so many people with autism are struggling to make the most of the hand they've been dealt with, and they tend to have difficulty seeing the light or making the most out of a bad situation. And unfortunately, in addition to being highly unemployed or unemployable, in some cases, a lot of people with autism just give up.
Yeah, man.
And end their lives.
Yeah, that's got to
very
be rough.
early.
That's
Do you think the
it
movie?
hurts my heart so bad.
Do you think the movie Rain Man painted a bad stigma on autism?
It was one of the first media portrayals of autism back in the 80s, and it had been studied, and the diagnostic criteria has since changed but nowadays you've got TV shows like Atypical on Netflix, The Good Doctor on
be my next
ABC.
one.
I love that show.
That's a good
I
show, yeah.
watch The Good Doctor, and I post on social media after every episode.
I saw.
Because
saw that.
I can relate to Sean on so many levels, and he, for those of you that don't watch the show, he is a surgeon in a prestigious hospital, has autism and savant syndrome, so he can think in pictures, knows the body.
He's
and-
like Doogie Howser.
he is kind of like
Yeah.
Doogie Howser.
Yeah, because he's young. He's young and he has
And
autism.
did you just call that savant syndrome?
Yeah.
And that, yeah, just like with Rain Man, he
Yeah.
had savant syndrome. He could do calculator math
head.
instantly.
I'm learning a lot.
But he couldn't tell you how much a candy bar costs.
Yes, exactly.
True story. But there's a little bit of pushback.
Hansa's savant of douchebaggery. Boom, just threw a shot at you real quick.
But there's
know
a
what?
lot.
Just flung that one at you real quick.
Tom,
That's your assholism coming out.
why is it so
had to
hard
hit
for, them,
somebody at some point.
for someone like like with those issues, get a job? I mean, I would think that if I was a company, owner, I mean, I would
Right.
love to have somebody like you.
Hold on
I
a
mean,
sec.
Absolutely. And when it comes to The Good Doctor, yes, Sean can perform these surgeries and have the right thinking for that. But his bedside manner, communicating news to patients, socializing, having empathy for someone who has a life-threatening procedure coming up, that's not always natural for people with autism, to be able to think how someone else might be feeling or to
Right.
be sensitive to other people's
Right, okay.
needs. So when people with autism say something insulting, whether they meant it or not, that because people with autism can be very blunt, have a high level of candor,
Right.
speak their
Much
mind,
like a young
no,
child.
no filter, say what
Exactly.
they're thinking
Yeah,
and
yeah,
feeling
yeah, yeah.
without thinking
Yeah.
about the other person. That's what gets them fired, because they look like insensitive assholes when they're
right,
not.
right,
And
right.
you don't see it physically in them,
Right.
so it's not something that
Jenna,
people
you hearing
can-
this, by the way? So give me a break.
Baby, you don't have autism. You get no
I know,
breaks.
but no. Hold on a sec.
You're
Why
just
don't I?
bipolar.
Hold on a sec. No. Tom, let me ask you something. Why don't I get a break? Because I have all those same things where my face doesn't fucking work and
Yeah, you have resting bitch face.
and people
Yeah,
get
it's
put
just your
off
face.
on things I say.
Well,
Why don't I get? Why,
Because
you
you're
know?
not an idiot.
No, I'm
savant,
actually really
or
being-
you are
I'm
an
really
idiot
being
savant.
serious.
You're not.
He's really being serious.
I am, man. Like really.
And I'll touch a little bit on my personal relationships with women. A lot of the women that I've had relationships with, they knew I had autism, but I wouldn't come up to them and say, "Hi, I have Tom. I have autism. Nice to meet you."
Right,
But
right.
as we got to know each other, maybe went on a date, I would tell them that, "Oh, for a living, I speak about autism. I have autism. This is how it affects me."
That's impressive, man. I'm gonna use that.
Yeah,
You
Ian's going to say,
can't
hi, I'm Ian, I'm
"Hi,
an asshole.
I'm Ian. I have assholism."
That's all it is.
Tom, if she ever leaves me and I'm single, I'm being like, look, I'm Ian and I speak about autism. Come on, man.
No, you can't do that.
Tom, come on, baby.
If you legit
Give me
speak
the
about
wingman.
autism,
Well, no, I don't. I won't. I'll be a fucking liar. But there's no way I'm not getting girls with that one. Come on, baby.
No.
But
Tony, come on.
Let me tell you that.
He's gonna walk around and say, "Hi,
pick up
I'm
the bass.
Tom Iland."
I'm gonna completely steal your identity, bro.
Shut up.
Oh boy.
Hey, I'm Ian. I'm a recovering asshole. I speak about assholism.
Taking my identity.
I travel all over the country to speak about assholism.
Recovering asshole.
But I've had relationships with women on and off the autism spectrum. The first relationship I had was with a woman with autism. She moved out here from Illinois to be with me, and we'd known each other for about 10 years before that.
Wow, okay.
And I quickly discovered that she had grown up, like we were talking about developmental differences, and she had grown up in a very rural community, didn't have any services her entire childhood, no support or therapists or people to really help her. So she has this culture shock and starts receiving help that my mother and I were able to get for her, but she thought my mother and I were looking to change her.
Man, so she rolled through from like Nebraska or something, right? And,
Yeah, rural Illinois. Yeah.
Oh, Illinois. I was close. And then now you're in LA.
Mm-hmm.
Whoop-a.
Was she insulted that you were trying to help her, or like did she take it as
She really relied on her parents' outlook, and both of her parents were also on the autism spectrum. So when she calls home her parents back in Illinois,
What a party.
talk about the services she's getting, it was her mother who responded, "They're looking to change you. Don't let them."
Oh, wow.
Oh, that's tragic.
So my now ex-girlfriend, spoiler alert,
What? It depends.
she resisted all the help she was
Did
getting.
her mom like you?
At the time, yes, but now that under the notion or the impression that we weren't accepting my ex-girlfriend.
Was she upset that you took her away from the family? Is that what happened?
I think my ex-girlfriend was really homesick. She hadn't really left Illinois the first 25 years of her life, and the idea that she was in another state and facing the possibility of not being her authentic self, when really my mother and I wanted to help her live the life that she wanted, but we could never see eye to eye on that. And I gave her 4 years before I decided I need to let you go.
Maybe she wasn't ready for that kind of life.
I don't think she was either.
Yeah.
She wasn't.
She was a girl in a woman's body.
She was just used to her, you know.
But and you can't be mad at that. Because
No.
you know, some people, they are happy and comfortable at where they're at because that's what they know. You know.
I got a question. I'm sorry.
No, that's all right. Go for it.
ADD.
Oh, shit.
ADD much?
While you
Need
think
some
of the
Adderall
question,
over there.
but there's a lot of debate.
Tony, are you going to try to be funny?
While you're thinking of the question, I was going to say there's a lot of debate out there in the autism community because people with autism want to be authentic. They want to be accepted for who they are.
Right.
And when adults, therapists, parents, other allies come in and
Fucking therapists,
and
man.
suggest that they're not okay the way they are, they need to change their behavior, they need to change who they are, then things go haywire from
But
there.
of course, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
And then
But-
they kind
and
of view them
also-
in a way. They kind of view them as like toxic people. It's like shit, dude. Like I'm trying to live the way that I want to
Yeah.
live, and if you want to change,
Right, just
things,
because it
fuck
doesn't
you,
fit
then-
into your little thing.
Also, what I've known with working with children with autism, any little change in a daily routine is detrimental to them. Because when you have that moment of hyper focus, like that helps them work their way through each step in order to know what's coming next, you know, and prepare for it so they can socially adapt their brain to whatever situation is going to happen. You know, they can in their brain they can adapt to whatever social situation is going to happen.
Isn't she such a great person, Tom?
Yeah.
Like when you were growing up, did you know she was gonna be a great person? You thought she'd be a shithead?
Well, we didn't know
I
each
didn't-
other
I didn't
growing
think
up.
she
We
would
met
be
each other. We met each
no,
other.
you
when
didn't
he-
think so?
We met each other when he was in college, and I was at that same age too.
Oh, okay.
We were college
Yeah,
age.
she's a little over a year older than me. So
Okay, Tom, I'd like to get into that. That you're doing these competitions.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
As
So-
a speaker.
So one of my secrets to success in becoming a better speaker and more articulate, and you notice I don't have too many filler words like
Yes,
Yep.
kinda.
I want to get into that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I joined an international organization called Toastmasters, and it helps you improve your public speaking, your communication, and your leadership through giving speeches, both prepared and unprepared. And every year, Toastmasters has a world championship of public speaking. Basically, you have to give a 5 to 7 minute inspirational speech with a good moral to the story, make your audience laugh, and you'll get brownie points if it pertains to a situation currently going on. Well, what I'm doing is I'm in a competition right now, working my way up to this world championship of public speaking. I'm telling a story about something that actually happened to me. I was on a freeway shoulder. My car's engine was leaking, and I couldn't drive the car forward. I couldn't put my foot on the gas. It wouldn't move forward. I could only move backwards, and I wanted to get off this freeway so that the tow truck could receive me. So I, on a freeway shoulder, start reversing towards an on-ramp behind me, and cars are coming towards me, and I stop so I don't hit them. They don't hit me. I get to the top of the on-ramp, and there's no more shoulder on the on-ramp for me to go. I'd have to go in one fell swoop. So I waited for the cars to go by. Then I threw it in reverse, go down the on-ramp, and the light's about to turn green, but I was able to get into a turnout before the light turned green again. And had my car towed in, found out I needed a whole new engine.
Oh, nice.
Jesus.
$5,000 right there.
Fun.
But the defect was covered under the manufacturer's warranty, so
Boom.
I was able to get it for free, and I now have a
Nice.
2019 engine in my 2013 car.
Oh, nice.
So the moral of the story is sometimes we have to take calculated risks. Sometimes we need to revisit our past if we're going to propel ourselves into the future and move forward from what we've come from. So the title of the speech is Against the Grain.
I love it.
I love
now,
that.
I like that.
which is one of my favorite Bad Religion albums, by the way.
Yeah.
You know what though, Tom? When you do go, when you do
I want
go
all of
compete
us
with
to
this
try one,
speech,
if you don't
I would
mind.
love to see a video of that and be able to share that online.
Or can we go? Can we just be like a cheering section?
Yeah.
No, you don't want
Can
to.
we?
Believe me, you don't.
He's right.
He's telling his story, and me and Tony are all hammered. Fuck yeah, Tom! You don't like that story, son?
Hey, we'll be picking up Hans so he can see you.
I'm smacking the shirt. That was it. That was it.
Hans has his shirt off as he's sitting on your
That was
shoulders
it.
like he's at a concert.
Hans has left the building. That was it.
Not quite.
First of all, fuck.
Don't worry, I'll pick you up gently. Don't worry.
You get on his
I'm a big
shoulders,
guy.
Wait, but as he picks you up, I have a sign that says, Hans drove the wrong way on a freeway off ramp too, but this is what happened to him.
Tom, the answer is no.
Yeah, Tom. Yeah, here's the little motley crew that you're gonna bring along with you. You got Tony over here hammered off his mind. By the way, when Tony gets hammered, he can't stand. So you know,
He
it's,
falls asleep in bathrooms.
Easily.
I'll be sitting there picking a fight with the guy next to me. You know, why aren't you smiling, asshole? That was hilarious.
He'll be over here getting his butt hurt.
Man, Hans is taking a
And I'll
whipping today.
be the only one that's going, shut up, guys. Good. Do I have to take you? I will turn this car around and drive you home right now.
But ultimately, we were supportive, nonetheless.
Yeah, but it's a
where
very
can we
interesting-
see you speak? Where can we find your speeches online? We can show people, and also where can we spread the word about SBC Global and stuff like, or SBCglobal.com? Why am I asking that? Because I'm a fucking
That's the
dumb-
mnemonic
I'm
or the
stupid.
memory aid, but
Yeah, I'm stupid.
It works.
but you can find me on all the major social media platforms under the name Thomas Iland, ILAND, like Rhode Island without the S. So
Yep.
there's no S in my last name. Thomas Iland. I have a YouTube channel as well. Lots of videos there of me giving speeches, and so that's where
Nice.
you can find me.
So we have 11 minutes left.
All right.
Now, Tom, I would like you to judge a little bit of people's stories, and can you call them out as it sucks?
Oh damn it! We have to tell stories. He's actually a professional.
You get
speaker.
one. You get 1 minute.
Well, guess what? In Toastmasters, we have evaluations. So
Yeah.
you give a speech, and I'll tell you what was good about the speech, what you did well, and then I'll offer some opportunities for improvement that you could maybe do.
Right.
for
Because
future.
I notice all the bullshit that I say. I was telling you that at the party.
Uh-huh.
That I say when I listen to our podcast back. I go, oh, boy, you know, like I say again. I just did it right there.
I go, oh boy.
No, I say you know a lot.
Oh yeah, you do.
Yeah, I say you know a lot.
I say
Yeah. So a lot of people will curse. You know, they'll say fucking. You know,
I do that.
to Phil. I have a friend that's fucking every beginning of the sentence, and then I just count the fuckings that he said, and I'm like, it drives me insane,
OCD.
man. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you might be a little OCD, baby.
Okay.
okay.
Well, can we play? Do you want to play?
Go ahead.
Okay. Who wants to go first?
We don't have time to prepare for this.
No. You got 1 minute, and you got to just
wait, no.
go.
In Toastmasters, we call this table topics.
Toastmasters.
One,
Okay.
1 to 2 minutes, impromptu,
Okay.
unprepared speech.
All right.
Okay.
Let's
We're
go.
down to
Let's-
10 minutes.
I have a
now.
story.
Okay.
man.
Boom. Hans, you got 1 minute. I want you to count the 1 minute. Hold on a sec. Okay, hold on a sec, Hans. And go.
So this is the story when I played on stage with Buddy Guy.
Okay.
So I used to work for an amplifier company, and I used to work with Buddy Guy's rhythm guitar player. So he called me to swap out amplifiers for him. I was like, cool, why not? And he gave me a couple passes for me and some buddies. Get there, swap out amplifiers, cool. And, meet the band and all that stuff. And then afterwards, we leave. It's like, hey, we're going to go get some dinner, drinks, and then we'll meet you back here before the show. Well, we've skipped the dinner and just went straight for the drinks. We came back hammered. And so I was basically seeing double. And then right before they go on stage, Rick comes to me. He's like, so last song, you want to trade studies? Trade
10
solos. Trade solos with me and Buddy. See, that's fucking time limit.
10 seconds.
Solos with me and Buddy. I was like, really? Yeah, really? Okay, what key? A minor. Okay, cool. Here's guitar. Boom. Sure enough, throws me on stage. Play the solo. Fuck. Dude, for in a minute. That is.
In Toastmasters, we give you like a 10, 15-second grace period to wrap up the story.
Oh, there was a grace period.
All right.
Just wrap it up real quick.
So real quick, pulled me on stage. My solo, Buddy solo, Rick solo, my solo, big crescendo, boom, done. I went to run off stage. Nope. Grabbed me, take a bow at the band, and that was it.
It was a good night.
That was
beautiful.
night.
Beautiful.
Usually we talk about how we get fucked up and ruin our lives on this show. Now here we go. Tom, please.
All right. So my evaluation of that, if you will, I thought was
give it to us hard.
Sure.
Yeah.
So the best speeches are stories, and true stories at that. Something that actually happened. You put yourself and your audience right there with you, and you did that with that speech. You're talking about the dialogue, the situation, and what had happened, what led you to that moment. And I thought it was very entertaining too, because you can make your audience laugh. That gives you some more bonus points.
Nice. Okay.
An opportunity for improvement also, and not just for the speech.
Here's the
but
compliment
any
sandwich.
speech.
Here we go.
Always have some kind of point or some kind of moral or takeaway to the story. Like, why are you telling it? What do you want us to know? What kind of wisdom are you looking to convey from that story you just told? Make that explicit.
Don't drink, or at least have dinner when you're having drinks before.
There you go.
Because
Or
you
maybe
never know what's going to happen.
Well, maybe good to loosen up. Okay, I like it. You're a nice guy. That was pretty.
Thank
good.
you. That
You
was
were
good.
very nice there. Leah, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, hold on.
All right.
Hold on a sec. Don't jump the gun. And go.
My name is Leah. I'm from Burbank, California.
Hi, Leah.
Hi, Leah.
Hi, Leah.
I got sober in 1994. I was about 25 years old, and at that time, I had not graduated high school. I had not done a lot with my life except use meth. And a few years into getting sober, I went to school and I got my diploma, high school diploma. Then I went and I got a 2-year degree in film at a community college. And then I went and got my bachelor's degree at a 4-school university in film. And 9 years into being sober, I was diagnosed bipolar. I had always had depression. I knew something was wrong with me. And I just thought I was depressed a lot. But I finally got diagnosed after going into an 11-day psychotic episode, which happens. And I was able to get treatment. I was able to get, the right medicines. After a period of time exploring different medicines, I was able to find the right ones.
10 seconds.
Mood stabilizers, which helped me. So more of the story. If you have a drinking problem, you can get help.
There you go.
All right.
Good way to close there. Nice.
No, that was great. That was great. Now I wish I had a pen and paper because I want to put down what you're going to say. I would love to try to see what you're going to say, but go ahead.
Okay. Well, I really appreciate you sharing that experience, and you were very vulnerable with us. Really good speeches.
Big time. In fact, I thought you were going to cry at some point. Am I right? Did it waver? Did you?
No, I didn't get into the dirty stuff.
Damn it.
Well, you did pretty well for the 1 minute you were given.
Next show.
So, but basically, when you give a speech, it is a time for you to speak your mind and your heart, to be vulnerable.
Yes.
Because when you let your guard down, really let people know that you want to tell your story and share, and like you're giving them your trust, and they will trust you in return when you let your guard down and talk about what you're really feeling about, and you did that very well. When it comes to improving upon that, or one-upping that, is really let us know how that made you feel. What did it mean to you? Oh my God, I thought my life was over. I thought I was knocking on death's door.
So she missed that. I mean, you get 1 minute.
For the time that she was given. She did
Right,
well.
sure.
But,
You got
but if you
1
wanna,
minute, man.
We call it peppering the speech, or giving it a little spice to it.
Alright.
So yeah, if you want to share how you felt or what it meant to you, and how it was important to you, that will really spice up.
Tom,
the
what
speech.
is the what time? How much time do you guys usually have?
Most speeches in Toastmasters, unprepared lasts 1 to 2 minutes, and we
Yeah,
have a
okay,
30-second
sure.
grace period. Prepared speeches are 5 to 7 minutes, and we have a
Okay.
30-second grace period.
I like it, Jenna. You're ready in 20 seconds.
All right, I'm actually nervous about this.
Don't start early.
I'm not. I'm saying I'm nervous about it.
Damn it! Hold on, I'm
No,
counting you
no,
down.
I
You don't get
screwed
ahead
your-
of time.
no, I
I'll
screwed
I'll
your
deduct
stuff
that
up.
shit. I'll deduct it. I'll start deducting points. And 3, 2.
So I like to drink. Complete opposite of Leah's story. I like to drink. And though in my early 20s, my drinking was quite out of hand. I thought it was cool. I grew up with my family drinking. Everybody smoked. Drugs were something that was casual in my family and nothing to scoff about. So one night I went out. It was my uncle's. He had a show at the 3 Clubs out in Hollywood. And he plays with many, many famous rock stars. That night, I showed up at the club, and I recognized one of my favorite rock stars in the world, Lemmy Kilmister. Lemmy, who had played with my uncle for many, many, many years, knew who I was, and I had to sit down with him. I had to sit down and have this opportunity to drink with him, to go shot for shot with him, because I wanted to prove that I could be a rock star too, and I was cool. Anyways, we had a night where we went shot for shot, and I took the last shot, and he canceled himself out. He said, "I'm sorry, love, but I'm out." And I looked at him, I'm like, "Ha ha! I win!" Needless to say,
Time.
I fell off of my bar stool. He didn't fall, and the thing is, true rock stars
Time.
know their limits.
I said time, Tom.
I got a grace period, 30 seconds.
I gave you that grace period.
No, you didn't.
Totally did.
Well, honestly, I know Lenny did a lot of meth, so it's probably really hard to. You outdrank him.
Also,
'Cause when
Leah-
you're on meth, you can do a lot.
Also,
You
Leah,
can drink a lot.
her story was about beating somebody at over drinking. Good for you.
Girl, you
Yeah.
you Irish.
Hey,
girl,
I had
huh?
a story.
Hey,
What's the story?
I'm above all this
I had
shit
a
right now
beginning,
until
a
Tom
mi-
leaves.
I had a
and then I'm
beginning,
back to
a
being an ass.
middle, and an end, damn it.
Okay, Tom, shall we?
All
Please.
right. Well, thank you for sharing that story, and a very good opening line that I like to drink, and I think we can all relate to that on some level. So that
Can you fill him up, by the way?
Yeah, give me.
Yeah, really.
that engaging opening line, something that anybody and everybody can somewhat relate to, is how you get and keep your audience's attention. So
Yeah.
you definitely at least had my attention throughout that entire speech.
Right.
I would have liked to have known a little bit more background on this person you idolized. When was the first time you heard about him, or what was so special about him versus another guy?
I'd like to say that too, but he cut me off.
Well, I'm just keeping time. Only fair. Just because you're my girlfriend, we don't get favoritism.
Yeah, and because sometimes, and you were talking a little bit about ADD. Sometimes people with ADD might tell a backstory to set up the context or to set the relevant situations. So sometimes you have to be able to
Get to it.
Yeah,
Well, that's a girl thing.
'cause you-
Girls can't get to it, man.
But even sometimes, like the other day, I was speaking to some high school students, and
Yeah.
I said I wanted to be George Lucas's accountant, but some of those students didn't know about Star Wars or who George Lucas was, and the teacher actually said to me, "Oh, Tom, some of our students may not know who George Lucas is," so I had to backtrack for a minute. Okay, so George Lucas created Star Wars. Thank you.
No problem.
So
Don't forget America.
so be careful on if it's a term, a person, or something that a layperson may not be familiar with. Make sure to establish that definition or that context when possible.
Cool.
Wow, very good. Tony.
Oh, what?
Hey, I totally had like great marks on there, and the worst thing was
Hold
that
on. Tony, you got
I
a couple
didn't tell
seconds to
who
get
the
ready.
rock star was.
No, it wasn't bad. It wasn't bad. He's also being nice. I'd like to judge the next round. You know, here's how I judge. I'd be all boring. Okay, Tony, and go.
Oh my God, I really have nothing.
And go. You already boring.
This is what's going on inside
Hold on.
Tony's mind.
You're still in his minute. Don't cut into his minute. Guys, don't cut into his minute. Oh shit. Is that it?
It's over.
Has that been an hour?
It's been an hour.
It's been an hour, but we
Okay,
got
that's
5 minutes over that.
Okay, we got a grace period.
So-
how do I stop? How do I stop that?
Oh shit!
Throw it at the wall.
Or just turn off the phone or something.
I feel like in
He's gonna-
Zoolander when
hey,
they jump
Google,
on the computer.
Stop
and start,
alarm.
I remember the
Throw it
computer
really
scene.
hard.
guys, look how you can't turn this off, guys.
Google.
Give me your phone.
Oh, stop!
Hey Google, shut the fuck up. All right.
Well, okay. So
Hold on, I need a timer though. Oh, wait, hold on. Give me a timer for a minute.
How
So
about somebody just look at their clock and
Nope.
watch a minute?
No,
Got it.
no, I'm.
It's
I'm
Google,
got
give me a
That's
timer.
that's the times,
Google,
that's the
give me
times
a
we
timer.
living in.
Hey Google, give me a
Google,
timer.
give me a hand job.
Whoa.
A little hand comes out and goes.
Are you finished?
You know what? It'll happen
I'm
one
sorry.
day.
It's all. Tony's all.
Hey Google,
That'll
give me a
take less
timer.
than a minute.
That'll be the end of the human
How
race.
big would that hand?
I need a timer.
How
the
big or
timer on.
small is that hand?
Oh god!
It's a tweezer.
I don't know. Google's a pretty big corporation, but his phone's
Right here,
pretty
set
small.
the-
Hey,
the
Tom,
timer.
check it out. I almost got a hand job one time from a chick that had 3 fingers.
Damn.
That's a true story. I couldn't do it though. My dick didn't. My
And
dick didn't
that-
work.
And that is his speech.
That was it. And then Tom goes, "Well,
Short and sweet.
short and sweet, man." Which there's a lot of jokes there too. Okay, we're at Tony.
Uh-huh.
Tony, this is an hour,
Yeah,
not a
right
minute.
there, dude.
Any
Right
1 minute.
there. See the time?
Hey, Google.
Just hit it. Give it to me, idiots.
See what she's doing to my self-esteem, Tom? She called me an idiot.
Start now. Go.
All right.
Okay, here we go.
So, anyways, I was at a party drinking. You know, I was up in it's called June Lake, up in by Mammoth Lakes,
Okay.
and so you know we were doing all kinds of drugs at the time. You know, I follow the Grateful Dead for many years, and so we were at this party, right? And I'm driving this Suzuki Samurai, and it's this. So this place is up on a hill, beautiful house. You know, it's like a huge party. So you know, I'm like so high and drunk. I'm like, I'm going home. So I drive down, the mountain, right? And so I get on the straight road, and all of a sudden, I lose control of the vehicle.
Look at 9 seconds.
And I went, I rolled down on an embankment and came flying out of the car. Fuck you guys.
He's like one of those guys with the fez hats on the
Anyways, so time's up. God damn it.
Moral of the story, 10 seconds.
Well, I died and came back.
Get to it.
You died and you came back.
Yeah.
Turn it off. Turn that off.
I'm sorry, we're laughing.
Picture the fucking Suzuki Samurai.
Is that one of those little tiny Jeep cars?
Yeah.
So silly.
Fuck you
That thing
guys.
had like a motorcycle engine in it.
Well, for my evaluation, let me commend you for continuing the story despite your...
Fucked up audience.
Assholes.
Despite the fucked up ass audience.
I picture you with a little fez hat too, like the little guys with the scooters.
I'm just picturing him in a Suzuki Samurai all fucked up on drugs, man. Because I know Tony's a fun dude, man. And when he's super fucked up, his face gets real fucking like...
And for my opportunity for improvement, I think you could
Yes.
use that body language or... Tell us about how cramped you were, how funny you looked in that Suzuki.
Well, at the time, I wasn't this big.
Okay, well,
And a Suzuki Samurai, it's a bike.
yeah.
Okay, finish, please, Tom.
Yeah, so if incorporating humor, making
Yeah.
us laugh, laughing at yourself, yeah, we were kind of laughing at you, but we were laughing with you.
No,
too.
absolutely.
That doesn't bother me at all. I was laughing straight the fuck up at him.
But yes, being able to laugh at yourself or looking back on that situation, as tragic as it was, and laughing is a way for you to make yourself and your audience feel good.
Now, Tom, that was pretty awesome. I love it. So check it out. Come to Life is Tom's book. Where can we find that?
You can find it on my website, thomasiland.com. It's also available in Spanish. My mother's fluent.
Nice.
And
Oh wow.
yeah, it's a great tool to prepare for the next step in your life. If you're going from junior high to high school or high school to college, moving out of mom and dad's
This is
house,
great, man.
looking
So
for a job.
Tom,
Parents can get that to help how they raise their kid to get to middle school to high school and things like that. And
most
kids can get
and
into
most
it too.
importantly, it's about the kid having a say in where they want to go, what they want to do, how they live their life versus the parents making all the decisions all the time.
Right.
Tom, can I ask you, do you have this available in audiobook? Because I have a teenage boy that deserves to actually hear this.
Oh my gosh, I wish it was an audio book. My mother hasn't done that, or we haven't made
We
that
can do that
happen
here if
yet.
you need
There
to,
you go.
brother.
Oh,
Yeah.
very nice.
We'll have Tony read
That's
it.
what we do here, son.
Then, I definitely need a copy of this because I have got somebody.
Right
to give
on, man.
this to.
So ThomasIsland.com, yes?
That's right.
Everybody go get that book if you need it.
Come to life.
Come to life.
You are a pleasure to have on the show. You're welcome anytime.
And thanks for being a good
This was
sport
so
with
much
all-
fucking fun, man.
No, he's a decent human being.
I know, right? All of us have black souls, and he's like, "I'm the shining soul
I'm like
to
fucking
save you." And then he's all, "Oh,
My brain
Screw
starts
these
to go to
losers.
weird places, man.
And did you notice that Ian didn't tell his story? I mean, why the
oh
fuck
yeah,
did-
no. But we're gonna have an entire podcast now with Tom being the one who deals with all of our speeches, and he judges all of our 10-minute speeches. These are gonna be long.
Ladies and gentlemen, episode number 26. We are out.
Later, guys.
Thank you very much.
Go stop that. Stop that.